Hi everyone, it's me, Warwick Wright again. It's Saturday, the 28th of October, 2017. As you know, I upload poems every now and then. It can be a bit politically motivated. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about something that happened. I visited the grave of Karl Marx on the 25th of October, 2017, posted a video about it. But this is really a follow-up. I'm not going to do poems today. I want to give some kind of personal opinions on things, and this is really meant to be kind of an emotional post to kind of reach out to people and give them some good advice because I recently realised that there was a hypocrisy in me recently, and it was kind of quite a nice spiritual awakening for me. Um, I realised that to have a good ideology and to be very powerful in spreading a good ideology, obviously being a good example helps. And there are aspects of my being an example probably wasn't the best, and and that's really because my identity and my political ideology were kind of linked in, linked together basically. And what happened is after I came back from the grave of Karl Marx, I told a couple of my buddies about it, and they kind of subtly made some comments which were kind of derogatory to Karl Marx, one of my heroes. I was a bit offended by it, and then I stopped and I thought to myself, if I'm offended by it, that must mean that my pride and my superego or idea is somehow tied into the symbolism or imagery of Karl Marx. And I realized, when this insult came to me, I wanted to defend Karl Marx. And I stopped and thought to myself, if I feel offended, this is a bad thing because, as I was saying earlier, to spread good ideology, I think it's very important to separate kind of your identity and your ego and your ID from the label of whatever it is your ideology is. Now, this isn't really so much about communism, it's about kind of positive ideology in general. And I kind of it kind of my emotions of feeling offended reminded me of one of my old beliefs that I was hypocritical to, and that is that it's very dangerous to believe in the leaders or authoritative people of a good ideology because it can actually lead people astray, and so it's actually very important to do this. So I kind of realized that, and what I'm actually saying to you is if you whatever ideologies you follow, so this is a really post for good people in general, whatever ideology it is you follow, whether it's religious or political, I think it's very, very important to disassociate disassociate the ideology from the identity or the label. Muslims say you should never associate anything with God. When I was offended by someone, well, saying bad things about Karl Marx, I realized I was associating Karl Marx with God. Because if I didn't, and I looked at it logically, how can I be offended on one hand by what someone said, and in the same breath say I don't associate Karl Marx with God or some kind of good ideology? And of course, I'd be a hypocrite to do that. And this is like a really, really important discipline that I think all people need to kind of take on. And I think the real power to spread a good ideology isn't so much being a good example, but being able, the ability to separate your identity and your ego and your pride from the identity or label associated with your good ideology. So again, it's supposed for good people in general. So I'm just saying this to all good people out there that spread good ideology. And a message to communists in general, fellow communists. If a person says, "Oh yeah, I bet Karl Marx loved loads of money," or historically said he earned loads of money, or whatever, or if as a communist, if you can turn around and say, wouldn't surprise me if he had loads of money, or he's in with the capitalists, or if you can turn around and say, well, it's not in living memory. Don't know. But most importantly, if someone offends your ideology through a label or someone associated with an authority of that ideology, the wise thing reaction is to turn around and say, well, does it matter if Karl Marx was a wrong one? The belief in a class of stateless money in society is what it's about. I don't, and the thing is, I know it's hard, but, and it's the same, for anyone, any ideology that you have, it's a good ideology. You can spit that away. If you can actually say, well, it's so important just to be able to say, if someone turns around me to the future and say, oh, Karl Marx earned a lot of money, for someone that was didn't believe in money, we can turn around and just say, does it matter? I believe in a class of stateless moneyless society. Communism is just a label. Karl Marx is just a person. Anyway, I'm going to repeat my favorite philosophy again, which you've heard me say over and over again. A person's beliefs and a person's nature go hand in hand, as do a person's nature and their will. But most importantly, the beliefs, nature, and will of the collective generate the very reality in which we live. Only correct beliefs can set us free. And these correct beliefs can be associated with any ideology, but if you follow it, separate your ego and your ID and your pride from your ideology, and just look at the pure beliefs, because this is kind of very, very powerful. But another thing I was going to say to you guys is that when I was contemplating this visit from Karl Marx's grave when I came back, it was a very beautiful autumn day. I felt very peaceful at the grave. It was very nice. I made my video, a couple of minor political comments, and when I came back, I felt really motivated to make this post because I realized that someone made me realize that I was offended when someone said something bad about Karl Marx. I had to make this post to make everyone out there that follows a good ideology to not make the same error that I did. But also, I'd like to say is, following on from my favorite philosophy, is that, if we don't take on correct beliefs and change our nature, because obviously it's in our nature at the moment to destroy ourselves, and it's in our nature to destroy ourselves because it's in our nature, or it's in our beliefs. So change our beliefs, change our nature, and we'll stop being self-destructive, because I don't think we're going to make it another 100 years, And following on from me splitting my ID and my ego and from my ideology, I would say, and this is to all communists, and remember, I really do believe in the ideology, but I'm going to say something that might actually offend a lot of communists, okay? Russia, China, and North Korea still use money, okay? So they're not communists. So remember that. So, and if you feel offended by what you say, remember what I said earlier in this post. You can't be offended by what I said unless you truly associate your ID and pride with your ideology, okay? So remember that. And so I'm saying, let's not wait another 100 years. And the thing is, the Red October Revolution was 100 years ago. And 100 years later, they're still all the communist countries are still using money, and that's got to tell you something, okay? So this is kind of going on to explain how dangerous it is to put faith in the leaders or authoritative figures that are associated with your ideology, because they'll lead you astray. And to be honest, they have led you astray for the last 100 years, okay? So let's get this straight. 100 years has passed, voting for good politicians that we think are going to lead us to a better society, and none of them have. So it's down to us. So the thing is, you have to understand, this is very, very important. Now, whether you're a capitalist or American or whatever, that when politicians go out on their campaign trails, they talk about great ideology and ideals, and they make out that these ideals are reflective in their real beliefs. But they're not. It's not their real beliefs. And I'll explain to you why it's not their real beliefs. Now, basically, sometimes you get people a bit on the prejudice side, and there's bad jobs or not housing available, and people blame ethnic minorities. Yeah. Now, we all might blame loads of different things, but when it comes to blame in society, the most infallible logic to follow is that you never need look any further than those who are in control of society. If they're in control of society, then they're responsible for the nature of society. End of story. If you want to blame a black person or a minority for taking away your jobs, okay, black people or minorities, they're not in control. They have no control over society whatsoever. So why are you blaming them? Yeah, you never need look any further than those who are in control. But following on from that, okay, because a person's beliefs and a person's nature go hand in hand, the actual current nature of our society is a reflection of the true beliefs of the majority of politicians. Okay, so we've got lots and lots of bad things going on in society. And the truth is, politicians believe those bad things should go on in society. You see, because they're in control. Okay, so the thing you have to understand, if they're in control, then the way society is must be a reflection of their real beliefs. Not the beliefs they come out, not all the lies they come out with on the campaign trails for elections. The nature of society is reflected in their real beliefs. So just as a person's beliefs and nature go hand in hand, their nature is also a reflection of their beliefs. Just as the nature of society is a true reflection of the way politicians are. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm generalizing here, There are some genuinely nice, sincere politicians out there with the right ideology, but unfortunately, they're a minority and they never really kind of get into much power. So, but of course, this is zooming out on the issue and looking at the bigger picture. But most importantly, if you zoom out even further and see an even bigger picture, we could blame the keyholes of society. But the bottom line is really it's our fault. Collectively, it's our fault because we put them in power with incorrect beliefs. By binding our egos and our ideas to political ideologies and authoritative people in those political ideologies or religious ideologies or whatever, we've actually allowed them to be corrupt while we maintain our faith in what they said, because they have an idea. You might be Labour, you might be capitalist, you might be Republican. You might be so proud of being a Republican. If a Republican's in power, you have faith that the world's going to be a better place because he identifies himself with your ideology. So this is why it's important to make a better world. Whatever ideology you follow, split those associations between your pride, your ego, your super ID, and just look at the ideology itself. And you never need. It's a bit like you go into a martial arts dojo. You can judge every master by his students. You can judge the character of a father by their children, and you can judge the real, true beliefs of a politician by the society that they control or the nature of the society that controls. So remember that. So it's time to split your ideology, because when you're voting for good leaders and voting is like waiting. When you vote, you're waiting for a leader to be sincere about what he says and lead the world to a better society. And let me tell you this, you're going to be waiting for a very, very long time if you keep on voting. So if you want to vote for what you think is lesser two evils, fine. But, if you want to make a real change in society, collectively we have to change our beliefs. We need to disconnect. We need to the Quran says that, that don't associate anything with God. And it's a very good philosophy, because when you have faith in a political leader or a country or an ideology or some symbolic of the ideology, you're actually associating something with God. And those anchors are used to control you into, a society which isn't very pleasant. So split these associations. And if collectively you manage to indoctrinate enough people with correct beliefs, then the nature of society will overpower those who are in control, those who are in corrupt. I'm not saying you change our beliefs and the world will be a better place tomorrow. We'll have to fight our demons. But with correct beliefs, you can, if you use all of your intelligence, all of our intellect, we can slowly evolve the world to a better place in a very, very peaceful, transitional way. So Young was saying, people, it's down to us. It's not down to the politicians. It's down to us, the way we treat each other. And respecting the philosophy of the symbiont circle. We're all linked, if all the bees in the world died, we would die. If one of our organs failed, we would die. Cut down trees which make oxygen, we would die. It could be something like if enough squirrels died, it would affect the ecosystem. We're all connected. This is a good philosophy to follow. No one is isolated. Everything that someone does affects the other. So what I'm saying is, really, we need to do this. Let's not wait another 100 years, because I don't think we're going to make it another 100 years. So with that, I'm going to close this post now. So thank you very much for listening to me. I needed to get this off my chest when I realised that I myself was a hypocrite. But from now on, whenever someone insults Karl Marx and says something bad about him, I'll just say it wouldn't surprise me. Or I might say, well, it's not in my living memory. I don't know for a fact he was a nice guy. I just know that it says that in the history books. Or I'll reply by saying, does it really matter? It's a classless, stateless, moneyless society that I believe in. I don't believe in Karl Marx. I believe in what the doctrine of communism talks about. So I'll let you go with that. Thanks for listening to me, everyone. Have a nice day, and God bless.